Parts of this episode of Garden Time were recorded before COVID-19 and social distancing requirements.
Do you like this?
Or do you like this?
We have something that everyone will like, a new episode of Garden Time. Welcome to Garden Time. We're at Out in the Garden Nursery. They're part of the Cascade Nursery Trail Spring Fever Open House happening this weekend.
And coming up later in the show, Jude will be talking to Carol about some of the great plants you'll find on the tour.
And also in the show today, we'll be showing you how to prune your clematis for blooms.
We'll also be talking about hydrangeas.
But coming up first, some annuals and perennials for the early summer garden.
Well, we're down here with Diane down at Wavra Farms. Diane, we are surrounded by color, and today it looks like you picked out some of your favorite perennials and some of your favorite annuals. So let's start at this side of the table and let's check out some of your perennials.
Wonderful. So one of our favorites is the Himalayan honeysuckle. It's right there in the middle. It's got some gorgeous chartreuse color. It's going to flower later in the season, but until then you stick with that color all summer long. It's going to go towards the back of the border. It's going to get some height to it. Down on the corner, we have the Transcendia Blushing Bride. That's going to be more of a shady garden plant.
Okay.
So it's something that could mix in easily with your hardy fuchsias or your hostas. And then it pairs really nicely with this lovely Astilbe right here in front of you, Ryan.
Well, that would be pretty cute because the Transcendia, it gets kind of a pink tinge.
It sure does. All of its new growth is going to be very complementary to that Astilbe. Of course, you can't forget the foxgloves. Foxgloves are blooming this time of year. They kind of add that cottage garden feel. They also make a really nice cut flower. So people are really happy with those.
And pollinator friendly.
They sure are. And so they're definitely going to bring those birds and bees to your garden, along with this lovely little lobelia in the front, this laxifolia. It kind of's got like a parrot beak kind of face on that. And that's going to be another hummingbird favorite. And then, of course, we have this new one, the sedum looking one. And I'm just going to let you put the name at the bottom of the screen. It does have quite a long name. We call it lamb's tail. So even though this does look like a succulent, it's going to take part shade.
Okay.
It does like to be a little on the wetter side. However, it will go dry as well. It's kind of a rockery garden thing. And it blooms for a good part of the first part of the summer season. So you're going to be covered with some yellow flowers.
I'm assuming it looks like you could just deadhead these off and still have just kind of a nice
sure could. And it's also one of those award winners with the Royal Horticultural Society. So it has won some awards. Down below we have the little geum, the rock rose. Now, of course, the geums, they're going to be an evergreen. So you're going to have a little pop of color there in the wintertime when the flowers are gone.
Right. And then it's another one of those kind of deadhead it, repeat bloomer.
And those are just easy to deadhead. Of course, you can't forget some of the annuals.
Right, and then you have, these are the great color. These are going to give it that pop of color
all
summer long.
They are. So we love the Cleomes. This is Senorita Rosalita. Gotta love that name, right? Just says summer all over the place. And then I like to follow that with the little Sun Impatient down there in the front. That is one of our vigorous ones. And so you get that great foliage, blooms all summer. The little Gumfrea next to it is one of the proven winners. The little Forest Plum. And then, of course, we do have a brand new New Guinea Impatient this year called Roller Coaster.
The size of that bloom is just spectacular.
And it starts out as these unique little rosebuds, and then they just open to this little ruffled petal. It does come in other colors as well, but it adds a unique flower to your shade garden.
Yeah. And then it looks like some coleus in here.
Of course, coleus is very popular here at Wavra Farms, and we've got all the shades and colors. Easy for sun or shade, low maintenance.
And it's kind of one of those, just a great accent to kind of go with anything.
Yes, and depending on the color, we can pop that in and add a splash to any color choice or pattern that you pick. Of course, we love the euphorbias. This is called Diamond Mountain. Okay. Diamond Mountain goes about 3 foot tall, 3 foot around. So it's one of those that's really easy to stick into the landscape, and pests and bugs don't seem to bother it. So
and this one looks a little bit more open.
It is. It's not quite so tight as Diamond Frost.
And then behind us is something that's pretty cool. That's, you know, the color on this is neat.
And this is just fantastic. This is called the blue shrimp plant, or the honeywort, or the Cerinthe. It is kind of a tender perennial, so hardy to zone 8. It is deer resistant, and hummingbirds and the pollinators just tend to love this little plant.
So, with such a great selection down here, with either the annuals or the perennials, it's probably okay to mix these all together.
Oh, it sure is. And then along with hanging baskets and shrubs and perennials, you just get the whole garden gamut.
The whole package deal.
Sure do.
So make sure you come down and visit Diane and her staff down at Wavra Farms. We're just surrounded by the colors, like you said, the shrubs, the baskets, the annuals, and the perennials. Always something blooming and going on down here. So Diane, it's always a pleasure to be down here, and you have a great selection.
Thank
so
you.
Garden Time is brought to you by Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
Hi, I'm Sarah with Portland Nursery, where our passion for plants has kept us rooted in this incredible community. A lot has changed since we first opened our doors, but through it all, we've remained family-owned and operated, dedicated to providing our neighbors the largest selection of the highest quality plants Portland has to offer. With hundreds of new plants arriving each week, you're guaranteed to find something exciting and unique. Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, at 50th and Stark, 90th and Division.
Since 1982, the Wall has been making local gardens beautiful, naturally. Whether you need a new wall, concrete patio, fire pit, or driveway, the Wall's expert craftsmen can build it. We back up our work with a 5-year warranty, so you'll know it'll last. We use the highest quality materials, including stamped colored concrete, natural stone, and we're the leader in using recycled concrete. Create an outdoor environment you'll enjoy for years, with the help of your friends at The Wall.
Find everything you need for spring at Al's Garden and Home.
It's an exciting weekend because it's out in the garden nursery in Molalla, and it's the Cascade Nursery Trail weekend. So that is so cool, Carol.
It is. It's so fun. It's our Spring Fever open house.
Excellent. And you, of course, have a selection to talk about, but there's plus more here.
Oh, this is just a tiny selection. Where do we want to start?
Okay, start at grasses.
So we've got some grasses. I love ornamental grasses. These are all different types of calamagrosses. You can see they come in variegated, they come in green. For being a deciduous grass, they're almost year-round interest. And they're easy. They're very carefree.
Yeah, and they're just so pretty. What great motion in the garden.
Yes, all the time. Yeah.
And then this one down front with these little tiny bell-shaped flowers.
That's
pretty.
a Disporum night heron. When it first comes up, it's really, really dark chocolate brown. It has these pretty little yellow flowers. And then it kind of starts to lighten out through the season. It's actually on a mild winter semi-evergreen. They can grow anywhere from 3 to 6 feet, just depending on your garden.
And then sun and shade, or
sun
shade.
to part shade.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. And then a variegated Astrantia?
No, it's actually a
Nadia.
A Nadia, yeah. And it's fire and ice. I'm sorry, thunder and lightning. Sorry, one of these things. We've had so much of that in the last few months. But it's a beautiful variegated with amazing flowers. If you take some time to deadhead, you'll have flowers most of the summer.
Perfect. And then let's talk about this taller one in the back here.
This is Aphrodite, Calycanthus Aphrodite. It's also behind us. We call her our goddess of the garden. She starts blooming, she started last week, so the week before Memorial Day, and actually will bloom pretty close to Labor Day.
Wow.
All summer long, very easy, absolute fantastic plant.
Nice. And then some pretty dark foliage. What are those?
Those are a selection of sambucus or elderberries. They come in different sizes, different leaf textures, and they all have that really beautiful pink flower this time of the year.
Carol, there's 3 different sambucas, so what's the difference?
A lot of it is texture and size. So you have black lace, which is really cut lace. This is black towers, a much coarser. Both of these can be pretty big plants. And then the one in the front is very, very compact. It's laced up. It still can get 6 feet tall, but it's going to stay much more narrow and much tighter growth.
And they all have that pink flower?
They all have the pink flower, and they all love lots of sun.
Oh, nice. I love that. And then right next to it is another pink flower.
That one is a heucherella, so it's a cross between a tiarella and a heuchera. So it has attributes of both. It's got a nice pink flower that actually blooms all spring and into summer. There's still more flowers coming on it, and we're almost to June.
Nice, nice. And then there's the Astrantia.
Yeah, there's the Astrantia. This one is Star of Fire, so there's all kinds of different ones. This is the darkest one that I've found. It has a beautiful deep flower, has really pretty foliage. They do best in full sun, but not hot afternoon sun. A little bit of shade in the summer does really well on them.
And so it is the weekend of the Cascade Nursery Trail, so you're open here, but there's other cohorts involved in this.
There's 8 of us this year.
Excellent, excellent. And so I'm going to toss to Ryan because he's at another one of the stops. Thanks so much, Carol.
You're welcome.
Well, we're out here on another stop of the Cascade Nursery Tour. I'm with Kristen, and we're out here at Hydrangeas Plus. And Kristen, you have a stop out here this weekend and open to the public.
That's right. We have our Cascade Nursery Trail event, our first one of the official one of the season, and we'll all be open to the public 10 till 5 on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, actually Memorial Day.
And we have some hydrangeas here, and they are starting to bloom. And we were talking earlier, these hydrangeas are a little bit different than some like the mop heads people might be thinking about.
That's right.
So what kind are these?
These are these are part of the Serrata family. They are Japanese in heritage. They're a little bit more compact than some of the traditional mop heads and lace caps, which is nice. Several of them are mop head, but generally this family is lace cap. What's fun about them is they leaf out later, but they bloom earlier. They're usually in bloom for us by Memorial Day.
Which is nice, because I have some of the hydrangeas at home that aren't even starting to show much signs of blooming yet.
Right,
So
yes.
to get an early bloom is super nice.
Well, and they're more compact as well. So that's for the small container gardener,
Right.
or for a small spot in your garden, because we're all running out of room in our gardens, I'm sure. But I brought out 4 of them that I just love the Serrata family. I have an addiction to the Serrata family. I think I have over 54 different varieties.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I have a problem. I say I have a Serrata problem. But these are some of my favorite finds.
Okay, so what's this guy right
This
here?
one is called Akashino Tamari. You can see it's very much like a mop head. It's starting to show a little bit of color there, pink or blue depending on the pH of the soil. The fun part about the Serrata family is you get a different plant. It changes from season to season. So you get the green leaf, but the leaves will turn red in the fall, and the blooms will also have some interesting reds,
fun.
like this Benny, B-E-N-I, Benny, has a white bloom now, but it will turn blood red in the fall.
And then this guy is pretty cool here,
Yeah,
with the dark stems.
There are
Which
dark
one is
stems.
that?
A lot of the Serratas will have dark stems, but this is the darkest one. This is Kirohumi.
Wow.
Yes, it's attractive every day of the whole growing season.
Yeah, very, very pretty.
And very dark. Some of them are a little more pale. This one's a little bit darker in its pigments when it fills in.
Very pretty. And then one other one in the front there.
And that's Mako. It's another mop head, very compact, even more compact than Akashino Tamari, probably at 2 to 3 feet at the most.
Very nice. And you guys have a huge selection out here. I mean, about how many varieties of hydrangeas are you growing?
I think I have 240 or 50 online, but we've got 320.
Wow.
And I just got another one this week.
So if you're looking for hydrangeas, make sure you come out here this weekend and visit Kristen and the Hydrangeas Plus. For more information on your site here, you can go to the website, or you can go to gardentime.tv and we'll click you over. So, we're super excited for our hydrangea season. I have them in my yard, and I think one of these might be coming home with me today.
Great.
Welcome to Blooming Junction, where it's easy to connect with nature. At Blooming Junction, you'll find beautiful, healthy plants, good, fresh food, and a place to regain peace and calm in your life. We have an unsurpassed collection of unique and distinctive plants and the expertise to help any gardener be successful. And we feature Blooming Advantage plants. Come check out Blooming Junction for an inspiring experience in the garden or in the kitchen. Blooming Junction, offering quality plants for beautiful gardens.
Peonies, bold and beautiful, an old favorite, but ever new, and perfect for your garden. At Adelman Peonies, you'll find hundreds of different peonies, bush, ito, and tree peonies covering 20 acres. Come stroll the display garden, then find a special plant or bouquet to take home. Join us any day of the week for beautiful color or weekends for special events. Adelman Peonies is just east of I-5 at exit 263 on Brook Lake Road, or online at peonyparadise.com.
For over 100 years, Collier Arbor Care and Bartlett Tree Experts have provided tree and shrub care services to the Portland metropolitan area.
From large tree and small shrub pruning, tree removal, and stump grinding, we can handle all your tree care needs.
Our arborists diagnose and treat your toughest insect and disease problems.
We also have organic solutions for growing and maintaining healthy gardens, as well as organic nutrition for your trees and shrubs.
Collier and Bartlett, environmentally friendly since 1907.
I'm out here at Blooming Junction. I'm with Ron. Ron, our gardens are in full bloom and coming into great, but there's a lot of color that's still left to be had in our garden.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you have a great selection here. You know, some of our shrubs and things may have bloomed out, but what do we have today that you're...
Well, first of all, we have, of course, petunias, and petunias have come such a long way. Every year there are new varieties. These are some cool ones. This is a new one here. This is called Ray Pistachio Cream. Real interesting color, something that's very different there. And then we have other things that people are probably familiar with, like the Million Bells, which is a nice spreader, a trailer. The Bacopa does the same thing. I tend to like that a little bit better than a trailing lobelia. It seems like it blooms a lot longer. We have Nemesia here in this bright orange color, beautiful. We also have your zonal geraniums here. This is a wonderful plant, you know, just with a little deadheading. It's going to keep blooming all season long. For sun, we have sun patience. A lot of people want to plant impatiens, but they have a sunny yard. This is a good way to go. As is some of the salvias, the annual salvias here. Wendy's Wish is a very popular one, especially if you want to get some height. This gets a couple feet tall. Here we have another salvia. Our bonfire begonia is great for shade, park shade. This thing will get quite large in one season. And then of course lantana. This is a great one. Attracts bees and butterflies. It has a rather pungent leaf that I really like, and brilliant colors, comes in many different colors. And this one here, the Plotus, I believe is how it's pronounced, is a new one for me, but it's very interesting. It just reminds me of Australia for some reason.
And then these are all annuals.
Right.
And so what are some of the benefits of having annuals planted in our yard?
Well, you know, a lot of people will do, you know, nice borders in their yard, but they may have some that are out of color. You could pop an annual in there, one or two. You don't have to do a mass planting with these, and it gives you a big impact, you know, a spot of color where you might need it.
Right, because, you know, a lot of our perennials seems like, you know, they'll come and have a bloom time, you know, 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, or some of our shrubs that may already have bloomed out.
Right.
But annuals, you know, they give us that pop of color, right?
Right, and especially, you know, for freshening up pots and things like that, and hanging baskets, of course.
And then, you know, there's some care that goes along with annuals. You have so much blooms that come out of them. Right. What do we need to know as far as care for
annuals? You know, for the petunias, there are a lot of self-cleaning petunias, meaning that they drop their blossom and they don't need deadheading, like this pink petunia here. And others, they do need to be deadheaded, you know, and it's, you know, a 30-second process to just go around and just snap off the little dead heads. You want to keep an eye out for any insects, especially with petunia. Okay. Petunia budworm, that's a common problem.
And then, you know, for hanging baskets, you know, how do you keep those going, looking like that all summer long?
Well, we get that question quite often. The main thing is water. You know, a lot of times hanging baskets may need water daily, depending on the heat. Usually when you're putting up a hanging basket, it's close to your home, so you're getting that reflective heat. It might require a little bit more water than something else you have in your yard. Fertilizer is important. If you're using a liquid fertilizer, I recommend it like every 4th watering. Or you could use a granular like an Osmocote or something like that. And again, you know, a little deadheading maintenance and check for bugs and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. You know, in these annuals, it looks like, you know, the range of colors for what you can do is pretty staggering.
Yeah, it's unlimited.
So, you know, for more information, you can come out to Blooming Junction. They have a rainbow of colors of annuals. You still have a great selection of perennials and shrubs too, but add some annuals to your yard. Get that color going all summer long into the fall. So Ron, it's always great to be out here. The coloring is just staggering, and it's just, feels like spring and summer out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Garden Time is brought to you by Capital Subaru, your way on the Parkway.
At Capital Subaru, we are family.
It's not all about selling cars here. It's about our community and our families.
We keep you moving.
With a Subaru, it's always, what are you going to do next?
And with our new space, we'll get you service faster than ever before.
And we are growing.
With over 72,000 square feet and 30 new service bays.
Our new location is opening later this spring.
I can't wait. It's a new year and it's going to be awesome.
At Capital Subaru, we are your way on the Parkway.
Judy, what are you doing?
You said to follow you.
Follow us on Facebook.
Oh, man. Well, we invite all of our viewers to follow the Garden Time page on Facebook.
And on our Facebook page, you'll find links to stories, you'll see upcoming events, and you also might even find a funny joke or two.
So don't forget, go to the gardentime.tv webpage and click the link for Facebook.
Dram is celebrating 75 years of design and manufacturing of quality watering tools. Dram products feature 9 water patterns and are designed to nurture your plants with a shower of rain. Dram for lawn and garden, available at garden centers near you.
Since 1926, the Bonide Company has worked with homeowners to make their homes and gardens beautiful. If you have a garden problem, Bonide has the answer. Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew controls most common garden insects and is derived from a naturally occurring bacteria to help with your organic gardening. It's safe to use even on fruits and vegetables.
Visit Bonide.com to find a local retailer and to download your free Bonide Problem Solver app for your iPhone or Droid.
At Sagawa Nursery, we always talk about taking your garden from ordinary to extraordinary. For us, that means bringing you the newest and best plants and unique garden items to you, our customer. For you, that means we'll help you transform your garden into something that's extraordinary. We also have some great gift items and even a few surprises for inside your home too. Sagawa Nursery, growing beyond the ordinary.
I'm surrounded by blooming clematis at the Rogerson Clematis Garden and with Linda. And Linda, I think that we need to talk about double clematis because I think they're so very special.
They are really popular this year, and with the cool weather, we're seeing more doubling. Ooh. And they're lasting longer in the garden. But they need a particular kind of pruning because not all double clematis are double every time they bloom.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, so we're looking at Charmaine. This is an introduction by Raymond Evison, and this plant's been in the ground about 3 years. This is the first time it's produced double flowers.
So it really needs a good root mass and to be mature?
Right, so patience, be patient.
We're not patient.
But what's interesting about this plant is that as double as this is, as solidly, beautifully red double as it is, when it reblooms in the fall and it's flowering on the new wood, they will be single.
Oh.
There won't be any of this central puff. It'll be one big red blossom with 6 or 8 sepals, and that's it.
But what about next spring?
So next spring, if you were to hard prune this in the winter, you would be pruning off all the wood that would produce a double flower.
Okay.
So this plant has older wood, and we really only cut off in the spring what had died so that we have as much old wood to produce these flowers as possible. Now, there are some classic old clematis like Belle of Woking and Duchess of Edinburgh, and they're double every time they bloom, so it doesn't matter when or how hard you prune them because you're always going to get a good show.
Okay.
Once they're established in the ground for 2 or 3 years, and they've really got their roots under them, like you were saying, then they are capable of absolutely majestic flowers. But Charmaine, only on the old wood.
Okay, well that's good to know because
Yeah.
there's all kinds of different things about pruning. And so
Right.
let's go to another clematis and go see that one because it's just a little bit different.
Yes,
Okay.
it's very different.
Now, Linda, there's two plants here, and they're the same name, but I see a lot of different forms of flowers. So what's going on here?
Okay, so when we looked at Charmaine, we were looking at a hybrid.
Okay.
One clematis was crossed with another. In the case of this plant, Blue Light, this form is what the breeder saw as a sport of a clematis called Mrs. Chumley. So if we take this away, that's what Mrs. Chumley looks like. Kind of a light blue, kind of gappy, a very old cultivar. But after they had been producing Blue Light like this for a while, it sported to this. Genetically the same, but what I call the thready center instead of being very full.
Okay.
Now, some gardeners really love this look, and some really love this look. And if you really care about which Blue Light you're getting, buy it in bloom.
Oh, sure, then you know what you're getting.
Right.
And so then how do I prune this one? Is it different?
It's always double.
Okay.
So we talk about pruning priorities, and one of them is take off any dead wood anytime you see it. Thinking that something that's totally collapsed is going to revive is just magical thinking, and it's not based on reality.
Right.
And then if you have a clematis that's going where you don't want it to go, then that's pruning priority number 2. Don't let them go where you don't want them to go.
Definitely.
Train them. And if it's headed off in an opposite direction, cut it off.
Okay.
And then the third thing is what we're talking about here. How do you get it to bloom as much as it will bloom? And so in this case, it doesn't matter. If it's gone a little crazy and you want to take it back to a foot tall, it's still going to be double. With Charmaine, if you do that, the next time it blooms, it's all new growth and you're only going to get the single flowers.
Well, I think that's really nice because it's really those really clear tips, but I think coming out here, especially today, and talking to all the staff and volunteers is the best thing. So what's happening today?
So it's this last Saturday in May, which is normally when we would do our Inviting Vines garden tour, which is one of our big fundraisers for the year. So since we couldn't have the open gardens this year and the tea and all the fun stuff that you've participated in before, we're going to be here. We're going to be selling plants all day. There'll be docents positioned around the garden so you can ask questions as you're wandering around, and you can see these crazy go nuts double clematis.
And ask questions, and I think take them home is the best part.
Yeah, right.
So please go to gardentime.tv and click over to the Rogerson Clematis Garden website and come out today and enjoy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Vertical planters are all the rage right now, especially with the smaller gardens, and we're using our patios and decks. We're going to be planting this green stalk vertical planter. We did it a couple of years ago, but we're going to show you all over again because we really enjoy it and we've got lots of vegetables and herbs from it.
So the first step, we'll take this lower unit. This happens to be on casters, so we can move it around on the deck, which is super nice because once we're full, it does get pretty heavy. So the first step we'll do is we'll fill this with a good, we're using a black gold, kind of an all-purpose potting mix. So we filled the base unit in here. And then once it's filled, we can take, this is our watering disc. So this will sit right over the top of here. Inside are holes. So each one of these holes will allow the water to kind of filter out each location. So we'll slide the disc on, and then we'll just kind of make sure that these holes line up to each little pocket. So once we have it in here, we can go ahead and mix in a little bit of fertilizer, starter fertilizer, put our plants in there, and then we'll just continue to stack on up. So let's get started and we'll see how it goes.
All right. So that was pretty easy. We added all the soil and then we planted basil, but really you can do anything that your family loves to eat, or you can enjoy flowers.
So, now that we have it all assembled, we want to water it in. So this is the big water reservoir up top. And there are little numbers on the side. This is for the number of tiers that you have. So we have 4 tiers. So we're going to fill this up all the way up to the number 4. And as we're filling this, the water is going through all the little holes, going down and filling up that layer, that little disc in between each layer, and distributing the water equally. So as we're going up here, it's also going down that middle chute. Water's trickling all the way down. We can hear it going. And once we get up to the number 4, then we'll stop, and that water has been fully distributed throughout the whole system.
It's really a unique system, and this is just one of many that are online right now or at your favorite independent garden center. This one is called Green Stalk. So really consider something like this, a vertical tower of greenery or of vegetables and herbs right on your deck.
Nestled in the oaks of the Willamette Valley is a nursery that is truly exceptional. At Out in the Garden Nursery, you will find a vast array of shade plants, ornamental grasses, and hardy perennials. Let us help you bring color and texture into your garden. We offer over 100 types of perennials. Many of our plants are evergreen for year-round interest. Plus, we offer the best in personal attention. Out in the Garden Nursery, where we grow great gardens one plant at a time.
Come to where the color is. Come to Egan Gardens. We've worked hard growing healthy plants for you so that your gardening is easy. Add sparkle to your garden with our perennials, container plants, and skillfully designed baskets and planters.
Stop and get a mood lifter out here on the farm. We have lots of fresh air and lots of space. There's lots of blooming plants, new vegetable starts, shrubs, and berry bushes.
Egan Gardens, where it's all about the plants. We're located west of I-5 at exit 263 on River Road.
Create a beautiful living space both inside and out with the help of Terracasa.
Outside, you'll find pottery, fountains, and decor to make your garden unforgettable.
And inside, there are home furnishings and just the right accents to make your home warm, inviting, and most importantly, comfortable.
Terracasa has a huge selection of merchandise to fit any home or budget. Plus, we still have all the unique and distinctive gifts that you have come to expect from Terracasa.
Terracasa in downtown Damascus.
Find everything you need for spring at Al's Garden and Home.
Well, today we're talking terrariums, and with it, we're out at Cornell Farms. And what is a terrarium?
It's essentially a very tiny, adorable garden.
Yeah, and it's, for indoors, or are they outdoors, or can
They're
you
usually kept indoors. Yeah, most people keep them on their desk or by a window, just to have a pop-up life. Maybe you don't have a lot of space for a big plant. This is perfect for that.
Right, and you've kind of picked out all the things that we kind of need for a terrarium. So
yeah.
When we're looking for terrariums, what kind of things do we need?
Well, the first thing that I would look for are the plants. Make sure that they have very similar care needs, similar water, similar lighting needs, so that you don't have to remember to care for them all differently.
Right.
And you just water them all at once, make sure they're in the same location.
So you can have some for sunny areas or shady areas, and that just depends on the plant material.
Yeah, like for example, most of the plants that I've picked out today are low to medium light plants. They don't actually love direct sunlight, for example. They can take very bright indirect light.
Okay.
And they all love humidity, so they will love this glass dome here where the water, the moisture can be trapped inside, and they will thrive in this environment.
Okay. So it looks like you have your dome or your glass vessel picked out, and you have different styles or shapes of those that you can use?
Yeah, there are ones that are globe shaped like this. There are ones that are more like a cylindrical, some funky ones that are maybe diagonal. But for the most part, what you'll find is more dome shaped like this, or the cylindrical type, because they're just easier to get things in and out.
Okay.
I've seen some pretty fun ones that are melted onto a tree trunk. You can make a terrarium out of that.
Okay. And so, when you're going to plant up a terrarium, after you have your vessel picked out, Looks like you started to put some stuff in the bottom of the thing. So what do we have in the bottom?
Yes, so what I have started here are just some smaller size garden blocks on the bottom, just for drainage.
Okay.
And then I have some charcoal and moss here for to prevent bacteria from growing inside the soil, because that sometimes can cause an odor. Most of the time it doesn't, but it's always good to have a preventative measure like this.
Okay. And then you mentioned soil. So what kind of soil do we need to?
You can just use any all-purpose gardening soil or potting mix. What we usually use is just an all-purpose the potting soil, because these has all the nutrients that the plants will need for a while.
Okay.
Because they're so small, they don't need a lot of fertilizer or anything like that. And these are all organic, so they will actually feed the soil, and the soil is alive, so to speak.
You know, so now that we have all of our materials picked out, let's get started on how to build a terrarium.
Yes, let's get started. So, like I said, we have garden block on the bottom here. So next up, I'm gonna start putting the plants in and imagining where I might want them. I can move them around later, but for now, I just want to get an idea of what the final product might look like.
And it looks like you've kind of prepped some of these plants ahead of time. You know,
yes.
They've come in like their little 2-inch or a 4-inch pot. So it looks
Yes.
like you've kind of teased them apart a little bit.
Yes, what you want to do is make sure that the roots are loose and they're spread out, so they know that they're no longer in a confined container. They can spread out and mingle with the other plants. Make sure that the roots are not too deep, otherwise you'll see the root ball kind of rise above the rest. And you want plants with different heights. Like for example, I have a taller one here. I want something that's a bit short over here. And then I want these baby tears plants. They are pretty fast to spread, so they are very good for lower onto the ground. And you can just dot them throughout, like so. And then I have this little pop of color here, just for some visual interest. And also you notice that this color are kind of cornered with this color here, so it's not too uniform. It's not too matchy.
Okay. And so there it's pretty much up to your own imagination, and as long as you're sticking with the different requirements that the plants need as far as, you know, sun and light conditions.
Yeah, you can get as creative as you want to be. A terrarium is your own personal garden, so you can put any plant you want in there as long as they have the same care. Any color that you might like, because plants are not just green, you know. Sometimes
Right.
they are purple, sometimes they're pink and red. So you don't always need flowers for color. You can always get very pretty foliage plants like this.
Okay, so then once we have our plants kind of placed in there where we want them, what's going to be the next step?
So once you have your plants in there, you want to make sure that it has enough soil to survive. So that is when we'll start putting in the potting mix. And I have some in this basket here already. So I'm just gonna use my hand, get in there, make sure that it gets in between the plants. And while I'm doing this, I'm also gonna get some charcoal here and mix it in with the soil, like we talked about earlier, just to prevent bacteria from growing. You don't need a lot to mix in the soil, but you need enough for it to prevent bacteria. And I have this handy dandy tool here that I can just
scoop it in.
Yep, scoop it in and just sprinkle it in like that.
And then once we have all of our charcoal and our soils, do you put anything over the top of the soil?
I usually do. So that's why I have these pretty crystals like this here. And I pick them out specifically with rocks that are close or similar to the color, or they complement the color of the plants. Like I have these very like earthy, sparkly color looking rocks here that I would put somewhere over here, for example.
And so these are just, you know, used for decoration, just to kind of put the finishing touches on there.
They don't serve any functional purpose for the plants, but they are pretty. And they add some texture and some levels to your garden.
So now that we have it kind of completed the way we like it, what are some basic care tips that we need to know to keep it alive?
Well, the first thing that you need to remember is that you don't want a lot of water pooling on the bottom, because that might encourage algae from growing. And it doesn't harm anything, but it might look a little green, and you might not want that. As far as watering goes, I like to just use a spray bottle like this to make sure that everyone gets a decent amount of water and it's directly to where I want the water to be. You can also use a long spout watering can to make sure that you get deep in there so the plants in the back are not neglected. And just make sure you keep it moist but not wet. You don't want to be sitting in water too much.
Okay. And then, you know, out here at Cornell Farms, you guys have these that are already pruned up and done that you can take home with you.
Yes.
Or you have all the components that you can make your own.
We have them on a table, or you can just bring a bunch of plants to us and ask us to make one for you.
You know, so terrariums are a great thing. You know, you can come out to Cornell Farms, you can talk to their knowledgeable staff on how to create your own, and or take one home when it's already done up. So it's nice being out here today. I appreciate all the information. So make sure you go to Cornell Farms website, or you can go to gardentime.tv and we'll click you over. So thanks for having us today.
Thank you for coming.
Is your garden getting tired? Don't let your garden fizzle out because of the summer heat. Stop by Wavra Farms for a refresher in summer color. We carry a great selection of plants that love the summer. Give your garden the splash of color that it deserves. Your outdoor entertaining will be more enjoyable when you are surrounded by beautiful plants, wonderful flowers, and great fragrance. Let us show you what a summer garden should be. Wavra Farms, just east of Salem, off Highway 22 at the Joseph Street exit.
DRAM is celebrating 75 years of design and manufacturing of quality watering tools. DRAM products feature 9 water patterns and are designed to nurture your plants with a shower of rain. DRAM for lawn and garden, available at garden centers near you.
Garden Time is on the road again. Join us as we tour Portugal and Spain in the fall of 2021. We start in Lisbon, where we tour the palaces and gardens of royalty. Then we make our way across Spain with visits to the Mesquita and the world-famous Alhambra. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and tastes of Andalusia before we end up in exciting Madrid. Local transportation, hotels, and 26 of your meals are included. Go to Garden Time Tours for more information, and we'll see you in Europe.
We have some tips for you today so that you can spray safely in your garden this year. A good tip is to spray just where you mean to spray and not any of the ornamentals. And also walk backwards so that you're not walking through the area that you've just put down the spray. Also, make sure that you spray on a day with low wind and that rain is not in the forecast.
It's also while you're spraying, you want to be safe. You want to make sure you wear some protective eyewear. You know, wear some rubber gloves to keep it off your hands, and also wear a mask so you're not inhaling any fumes or anything that might be airborne. And then when you're all done, make sure you dispose of those properly, and then clean your hands and clean your clothes so you don't contaminate anything else.
It also is good to label your sprayer tank. We've labeled this for weed killer only, so that you only want to use the sprayer tank for weed killer and not any other kind of spray.
So we hope these tips help you become more successful in your spraying.
Our gardens are looking so great this time of year, and to keep them away, if you have critters, I'm with Tom Combs, and Bonide has some really great products to help that.
Yes, we do. So the one in my hand is called Repels All. The name kind of says it all, Repels All, right? So talk a little bit about the product. It's all natural ingredients, a mix of 3 different natural ingredients that one will work off of taste, the other off of smell, and the third one off of irritant. And when I say irritant, meaning it'll gently burn the animal's eyes, not to the point where it'll blind them, but just enough to irritate and force them to move out of the area. So remember that tan shoulder, that indicates all natural ingredients. So let's talk about what animals this will repel in the landscape and in the garden. Things like raccoons, porcupine, rabbits, squirrels, crows, other birds. There's 47 animals on this one label.
And then where do we put it? Do we put it right on the plants?
No, you're not going to want to put it on the foliage. So Repels All in a liquid, this is a ready-to-use bottle, also comes in a dry formula, is going to be applied around the perimeter of the raised bed or the vegetable garden, or even in around the landscape, okay? So a perimeter treatment versus on the foliage.
All right. And then what if they're like, they don't even pay attention to that and they're starting to chomp on my vegetables or my roses? Do you have something for that?
I do, and it isn't just, you know, we've applied this and they just blow through it and keep going. It's always good to do what I call mix it up. So
sure.
repels all, and then the one in my hand is go away deer and rabbit repellent. So another all-natural deterrent, but this one is capsaicin, it's hot pepper. So this one we could apply right to the foliage of the broccoli, we could put it on our carrots, our cucumbers, up to the day of harvest, because it's just hot pepper,
right.
Okay? So safe to use. When we go to harvest our fruit, just wash it off, which we naturally do.
Sure.
And it's safe to use.
And then what about reapplying? Should we keep it a certain timing, or how does that work?
A great question. You know, we are in the Pacific Northwest and Mother Nature likes to do her thing. So the label on Repelsol will say up to 2 months between applications. That might be a little bit of a stretch, especially when we're getting some hard downpours. So I would say in the rainy months, maybe every 3 to 4 weeks reapply. And then the go away deer and rabbit, the capsaicin, definitely reapply maybe every 7 to 10 days.
Okay. And that makes sense because it's just going to wash off and you really want to have that protection there while the vegetables are growing.
Right. Growing reminded me of something. You know, we could treat our broccoli, we could treat our lettuce, but they're growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless we treat that new growth, we're really not achieving anything.
Right, right. Oh, really a good tip for that.
Yep.
So we really want to be able to harvest our vegetables and enjoy all of our flowers and our landscape plants. So please go to gardentime.tv. You can click over to the Bonide website and find out where you can get these good products for your garden this year. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yep.
Garland Nursery, a must-stop destination for those that want to play with plants and grow with their garden. Whether you are a new or a seasoned gardener, Garland Nursery can help fulfill your gardening desires and your landscape needs. From organic veggies, trees and shrubs, to colorful blooms, from the newest trends in garden supplies and garden decor. Shop Garland Nursery to find that perfect plant or piece that fills you and your garden with delight. It's always a beautiful day at Garland Nursery.
Since 1929, Grimm's Fuel has powered great gardens around our area. With our comprehensive composting and yard debris services, we can apply quality garden mulch, compost, and blended soils with our experienced crews and trucks, including our landscape rock and bark products as well. We are proud of our industry-leading state-of-the-art composting facilities. We also can take care of your fuel oil and firewood needs. Grimm's Fuel, building great gardens since 1929.
There's nothing more inviting than a garden full of beautiful clematis. And your chance to see the Queen of Vines is at the Rogerson Clematis Garden at Lusher Farm. Come celebrate Memorial Day in the garden on Saturday, May 29th between 10 and 2. There's a plant sale, potting demonstrations, garden tours, and even a raffle. Every garden deserves to have a clematis. To learn more about the garden and all of its many activities, go to rogersonclematiscollection.org.
For 90 years, Espoma has one guiding principle: develop the finest organic gardening products that work in harmony with nature, grow beautiful gardens, and make a greener world for the future. From our soil products to our plant foods, we have always been committed to the environment and sustainability. We use a vast array of natural and organic ingredients and package them in our 100% solar-powered plant. Look for the quality line of Espoma products at your local independent garden center. Espoma, organic from the beginning.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Bauman from Bauman's Farm and Garden, and it's strawberry season at the farm. Oregon strawberries are sweet and delicious, but they're kind of soft. They're not hard as a rock like those California berries, which means they just don't keep very long. But one of the things that makes Bauman Farm special is that the strawberry field we're in right here is on site of the store, which means that we pick the berries fresh every single morning that you come to the store and get. But strawberries are not the only thing coming in right now. Let me show you what else we've got coming in fresh from our fields right now. fresh spinach. It's one of the first greens to come in from the fields, and we're picking this fresh every single day. You could probably see the barn in the background. It's literally just a couple 100 feet away from where we're picking the produce fresh, so that when you know that you come out to Bauman Farms, you are going to get some of the best produce you can find anywhere else.
Make sure you head on over to our YouTube page, where we will keep you updated, because the stuff that's coming into season just doesn't last very long. I want to make sure you can get out to the farm and get the freshest produce possible.
I'm at Bosque del Natives today with Lori, and Lori, you are surrounded by native shrubs today. I love that, because that's you.
True.
And so I think that we need to have some native plants that are kind of in the middle ground. Like we have trees in our gardens, we have perennials and native perennials and things, but we need something kind of in the middle. So you're solving that problem.
Well, I have here a collection of some of my favorite shrubs. This is the blue elderberry, and it gets flat white blossoms a little bit later in the spring, and followed by kind of a deep blue,
they're pretty,
almost frosty looking berry that is edible to both people and wildlife. There's another elderberry as well that's called the red elderberry. It looks just like the blue elderberry, except the berries are red instead of blue. And the red one gets its blossoms earlier and its berries earlier. And we have specific birds that come to visit the nursery only when the elderberries are ripe.
Oh, that is cool.
And so if you have room to have both a blue one and a red one, you can stagger the bloom period and the berry season for the wildlife by doing that. Both are really beautiful and easy to grow, and they don't have a really aggressive root system. The blue elderberry prefers more sun, and the red elderberry is fine in full sun or partial sun. This
what is this down here?
Called high bush cranberry, and it's another shrub. Its growth habit is similar to that of a vine maple. It's about 25-30 feet tall upon maturity, and it gets covered with these beautiful white blossoms, and then these turn into a cluster of shiny red berries that are edible. And I like them, but not everyone does, because they do taste like a cranberry. It has the bitter flavor of a cranberry. I like them. Once you eat the first one is a little bit shocking, but then after that, you know what to expect. I do think it'd be really good to make a sauce out of it too.
Oh, yeah.
But the birds do eat them. It's the last berry that they eat. So if your high bush cranberry loses all its berries right away, you know that your garden needs more fruit-bearing shrubs.
Definitely.
But
and this is deciduous too?
It's deciduous,
okay.
Beautiful red color, doesn't have an aggressive root system, beautiful along a fence line.
Nice, nice.
And easy to grow.
Good. And then Mahonia, which is an evergreen.
So this is Oregon state flower, and this is the tall Oregon grape, Mahonia aquifolium, and it grows in sun or shade. And the books usually tell you it'll get about 6 feet tall, but on my property here, I have some that are about 15 feet tall. But you can prune them any way you like. They get a beautiful yellow blossom that hummingbirds, bees, and butterflies all love, and then a cluster of blueberries that are edible to wildlife and people. And you can make a juice out of it or a sauce.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, and the root is medicinal as well.
Wow, so many parts are so interesting and useful.
Yeah.
And then what's next?
This is red currant. This is one of my favorite shrubs. It's really easy to grow, and it's a must-have in every garden. And it has a beautiful pink blossom. The color can vary from white to deep pink, but quite often they're a deep magenta pink. It's a hummingbird magnet, and it grows in sun or shade. So in a perfect world, you would have one in the sun and one in the shade too. And
you see it hiking when you're out in the woodlands. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
And I'd say the mature height on it is about 10 or 12 feet tall. And it's well behaved. It doesn't colonize, it stays put. So it's another good one on the edge of the flower bed or the backdrop or along a fence.
Nice. And then a rose. I don't think about a rose being a native.
Well, Oregon has 4 native roses. This particular one is called the woodsy eye rose, and it likes to grow in the shade, and it gets tiny pink blossoms, and then the blossom is replaced by a rose hip that's really high in vitamin C. You can make a tea out of it, or you can simply just eat it, or you can just leave it for the birds. But the roses colonize, so you want to make sure when you plant roses that you have the space to accommodate them. Otherwise, it becomes maintenance. It's a great plant for erosion control because it does colonize, so it would hold a
nice bank
hill in place. But if it's a little tiny space, you might find it to be more than what you bargained for.
Right. So you included a perennial with this mix, and so what's that one?
This is called goat's beard, and not everyone is really familiar with this plant. It's a shrub technically, and it dies all the way down to the ground in the winter, and then in the spring it erupts out of the ground with bright red tips, resulting in this beautiful blossom that is just beginning to open that resembles a goat's beard.
Oh, fun. And so all of these plants are native to Oregon, which is so cool, and having like a little native garden in your area, in your backyard, will attract different animals, and so you've designed this really cute little display. So tell us about your little habitat there.
Well, I have chipmunks, and I love my chipmunks. And we also have cats here that are predatory, and so I wanted to create a habitat where the chipmunks could escape the neighborhood cats. So I made all these hidey holes, and I put in hollow logs and boulders, and so I call it the chipmunk fort. And the chipmunks love it, which is really fun, and we get to see the chipmunks over there every day, and it does seem to be providing them with protection from predators as well.
And we saw so many birds too, because the birds were coming, stellar jays were coming. It was just lovely. So, you know, coming out to Bosque Dell is like being in the forest. So come on out and see all these little areas, because you can take that ideas home. There's lots of picture opportunities here. So go to gardentime.tv, we'll click you over to Lori's website, and you can find out information to come out to Bosque Dell natives. Thanks so much, Lori.
Thank you.
Ryan, what are you doing way back there?
Judy, just like these hydrangeas, I'm outstanding in the field.
And if you would love some of these outstanding hydrangeas, come out to Hydrangeas Plus. They're part of the Cascade Nursery Trail event happening this weekend.
And for more information on the event, or this show, or any of our other episodes, go to gardentime.tv. Judy and I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on Garden Time.
Ryan, you need to brush up your look. Ryan, that is better.
It's always better when you show off your Garden Time pride.
Check out the Garden Time store on our webpage for a great selection of Garden Time gifts and apparel. Choose a hoodie, shirt, hat, bag, or mask for yourself, or as a gift for the Garden Time fan in your life. See the complete selection on the Garden Time website.
Pick up some Garden Time gear and show your Garden Time pride.
The proceeding was a paid program of the Guston Creative Group and its sponsors.